In 2018, the Bureau of Labor Statistics estimated that nearly 1 in every 4 Americans completed at least part of their work from home. COVID-19, or the coronavirus, has caused that number to increase tremendously in 2020. Yet, whether you're a seasoned veteran who's been communicating from home for a long time, or those who are just now becoming remote workers, everyone is prone to making mistakes just like we are in the typical workplace. This video will look at communication mistakes, 3 that are common, particularly for video conferencing software or video communication. The first mistake that individuals will often make in a video conference or when creating videos to distribute to their coworkers and employees is eye contact. Eye contact is critical to communication regardless of mediated or face-to-face delivery. Yet many people often mistake eye contact in a video setting because we're prone to look at the faces of those who we communicate with on the screen. And when we do that, notice here, we lose eye contact with the receiver, who is in fact looking through our camera lens rather than the screen itself. And when we think about it, it obviously makes sense. Yet our human nature is to look at the facial cues and the expressions of those we're talking to, which inevitably detracts our eyes downward, that takes away from our connection with the receiver. So one suggestion would be to keep a piece of tape or a brightly colored object near your camera to remind you to look up. A small cue like this can in fact increase your likelihood of engaging your receiver via the camera and help you to engage them and retain their trust throughout your conversation. The second mistake, which often is related, is due to camera positioning. Camera positioning is important because you want to be on a level playing field with your receiver. For a long time, centuries in fact, we've often equated positioning with power. In fact, when you think about some of the most historical speeches, or when you think about some of the most powerful people throughout human history, you often will remember that they either delivered speeches, they often communicated, or they would use physical space in some way to demonstrate their power. This in essence was the origin of a stage, creating a stage for somebody to elevate themselves above the audience and speak downward to them so that they could elevate their own point of view over the rest of their fellow people. But when we think about that in a digital means, oftentimes it's unintentional, much like the eye contact. So often we'll be looking downward at our computer, which creates this perception that we're talking, and oftentimes our vocal patterns will reflect the fact that we're talking downward into our screen, rather than on a conversational level that often would take place at eye level or face-to-face. So one thing I would encourage you to get in the habit of doing is, if your camera cannot be positioned at an eye level, try and prop that up, whether it be propping up a laptop with some additional books, or by repositioning your camera with another mount. This can give you that perception of eye-level communication that creates an equal level playing field that people will respond more favorably to. The last mistake that people will oftentimes make, particularly in a video conference or video meeting in which multiple people are involved, deals with response and response timing. So even with today's technology and the very high internet speeds that many people are capable of receiving at this point, there's still a lag time that comes with video conferencing, very minor in some situations, that can create a disruption for how we communicate with other people. That is piled on top of the fact that many people may actually be distracted when engaging in a video conference. For instance, a study done by the West Unified Communication Services suggested that nearly 80% of people are doing something else in addition to listening on a conference call. And certainly we know that sometimes these are trivial things or very small things that allow people still to maintain their attention, but sometimes it can be a distracting platform when you think about the emails that may pop up on your screen or other work that may show up that may require your attention. So when you're soliciting a response from somebody on your video chat, it's important to prompt them, letting them know ahead of time that you may be calling on them or that you'll be soliciting feedback after a point will be made, giving them ample time to prepare, but also B, time to overcome that slight awkwardness that may come when you ask for a comment. The technology buffers and you have to wait then for the response. And so these are just 3 common mistakes that people will make, but it's easy to overcome these mistakes when you think ahead of time about how you want to deliver your video conference or your video call to your employees and your fellow coworkers.